Guys, I think X-Shot really did make a mistake this time. But it's probably not for the reasons you're thinking. Hear me out. When X-Shot stepped into the Pro Blaster arena less than 16 months ago, they didn't just dip their toes, they dove straight in. Starting with their original Pro Longshot, despite one obvious flaw, which we all know about now, the considerably weak-walled plunger tube, the community absolutely loved this thing. Not only had X-Shot brought out their first Pro Blaster ever, but it was probably the most affordable flagship Pro Blaster at launch ever in the space, at an incredible $40 launch MSRP price. But they didn't just stop there. They went on to create a second generation of the original design with the improved plunger tube, eventually an alternative color scheme in 2024 known as the anime color scheme, and now in 2025 we have a brand new color scheme bearing the same markings of the original, but with a distinctly different color tone and decal arrangement. The same colorway as the blaster we're going to discuss today, which leads us to today's review. Today we're diving into X-Shot's latest creation, the X-Shot Skins Pro Fury X, a blaster that redefines what $15 can get you in this hobby, and later in the video we'll discuss why I think they took it just a little too far this time. Let's get into it. Alright guys, here it is in all its glory. This is the Skins Fury X. I mentioned this in various of my recent X-Shot videos, but I have been seeing this yellow banner on a lot of their blasters, including the anime Longshot and even some of their Insanity series blasters like the Clip Mania. Before you make a comment on that, that is the actual name of the blaster. I'm gonna have to start saying that in a lot of my videos. I should show you guys some of the comments that we've gotten. Woo! Maybe we should do an out of context reel. But yeah, beautiful colorway. Like I said earlier, for 2025, the Longshot is also already out and available in this colorway. We're gonna go ahead and unbox this, do a little bit of testing, and then finally we're gonna share our final thoughts. All right guys, as usual, we have two little pieces of tape here and here. And then we have two right here. X-Shot is pretty consistent with these packaging methods. You're able to finally view this beautiful magazine, which is actually the same form factor of their other magazines that we've already seen, only now got this beautiful hot pink. By the way, off topic, if you're into collecting knives, we do have a knife channel called Not Enough Knives. You can check that out. Shameless plug, but moving on. A generous amount of darts. We got 40 of these X-Shot Pro darts. They're not bad. They're very comparable to the Dart Zone Rubies, slightly lower in performance than those. And my favorite packaging method that so far I've only seen X-Shot. I'm not sure if I ever saw Hasbro do it, but X-Shot is known to do this. You basically have these little screw-on plastic retention pieces. They come right off and your blaster is free, just like that. Pretty awesome. All right, so first impressions. It actually feels really comfortable. They made the thumb hole structure just far enough that it doesn't bother my hands. And I'm surprised because I have larger than average hands. My thumb fits around normally and I can pretty much aim the blaster straight without having like that hand in between discomfort that would otherwise have to make me alter the angle of my arm to have the blaster straight. I can literally, as you can see, I'm pointing right at the viewing lens, the blaster straight. So I really appreciate that. I like the way that the priming handle is not obvious. Somebody else might not like this, but I do like that if you look at the blaster straight up front like this, you can immediately tell where the priming mechanism is. Of course, you have to assume that it's back here because there's no pump up front and there's no grabbable pull lever where you could just yank the blaster backwards. So it's obvious that you have to grab the blaster at some point. Obviously it's not in the front because it doesn't move. So the only thing left to do is to yank on this part of the slide, and indeed it is the priming bar. One thing I do like, and this is getting into some intricate details that I don't know if other creators or reviewers have pointed out, but let us know in the comments if they have. It would be awesome if they did. X-Shot wasn't lazy and built the prime bar only up to where it needed to be built, maybe over here or maybe over here. They actually built a full assembly that continues to keep most of the inner workings of the blaster or even the undershell not visible. And this is great for aesthetics because as you can see, I have the blaster fully primed back. I have not returned the prime. There's not even an inner shell part of the blaster showing. You still see all of the livery on the blaster all the way up to this very frontal point here. And I think that is an incredible attention to detail, especially for a blaster at this price point. And that's something that we're going to focus all the way up until the bloody end of this video. For the better or the worse, make sure you carry that with you. This blaster is a $15 pro level blaster. So we got that, and then the return is pretty effortless from what I could see. I was very surprised to see an aluminum barrel. In order for Nerf to simply compete with other pro blaster manufacturers like Dart Zone, Adventure Force, now X-Shot, they had no choice but to cut down on costs when it comes to materials. So we got a very bare bones setup with those blasters. We got a plastic barrel on the Torrent, and I believe we only had a AA option on the Sender. Didn't even get a lipo like we did with the Strife X Pro. Hasbro had to cut as many corners as possible even to match what these guys were doing. And now we have a $15 pro blaster with an aluminum barrel, which, if my math serves me right, I have not opened this blaster yet. Based on the fact that it's a bullpup and most of the loading happens in this quadrant of the blaster, we're looking at least a 200mm barrel. All right, big just kidding moment. I had to open it up. Of course I couldn't resist temptation. And you guys want to get a load of this? This barrel is actually 220mm long, so I was wrong. The values actually keep stacking yet. You have a physical lock on your trigger here where when it's depressed, you cannot pull the trigger at all. And conveniently enough, this little front orange piece here is removable just by removing these two screws here. That way you can do barrel swaps or special 3D printed muzzle pieces. You want to talk about attention to detail. One of the things I noticed while I was opening the blaster is that some of the screws in these white areas, the heads are actually painted white, so they're a little bit less conspicuous. This is getting to be pretty ridiculous, but this barrel attachment does allow standard X-Shot attachments, and I would assume any kind of comparable B cars and P cars as well. Mag inserts, no problem. Release is right back here. You get two mag releases. You have this one, which you could use with your offhand when switching your mag and loading a new one. Or if you're in a hurry and you already have your additional mag in your hand, you can gravity drop using this thumb depress lever here, which is ambidextrous. So if you're left-handed, you can also do that. Again, we're starting to stack this thing up with some value. We also have a switch up here, which is a 3-position switch. I looked at the manual, and this is a jam clearing switch, which allows you to pull back the prime once again, even after the blaster is primed. Now, why it's 3-position? I'm assuming that it's either to allow you 3 different stages of release to clear a jam, depending on the severity of the jam, or it's just a step tooth built into the switch for feedback, just so you can know that, yes, you are indeed pressing the switch. Let's go outside, we'll do some plinking, put it through the chrono, and then we're gonna give our lasting thoughts as well as bring a guest that's gonna give their thoughts on this blaster. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're gonna be using Worker heavies. Got a little bit of crosswind today. Plus, I really like these darts for testing. They're extremely consistent, extremely reliable. If you want more information on these, check out Bradley Phillips' video. He has a very concise analysis on this dart, as well as its comparison to other darts in its class. Without further ado, we're gonna try a plinking session from 20 feet, see how accurate the blaster is in stock form, and then we're gonna try 40 feet. These are the typical ranges of engagement in standard Nerf battles. So we're gonna keep it simple. Let's get to it. Just left. Just nipped it. I like the action. So smooth. Woo. Just keep skimming it. Come on, give me one. All right, that felt pretty accurate. Like I said, I was just skimming just to the left or just to the right of the can, which is not bad for not having a scar. It'll be a little bit more challenging at 40 feet, which we're gonna test now. Let's go. Right in line. Either too high, too to the left, or too to the right. Right in line. Down with the base. So annoying. Woo! All right, guys, the good. There's a lot of good here. The speed at which you're able to operate the blaster is incredible. If you're used to X-Shot's under par plasticky feel, as with the long shot, this has a little bit of a step up, I would say. In addition to the great ergonomics, the plastic feels very good. This hydro dip style graphic design is top notch, as we have come to expect from this product line. Reloading is smooth and fast. I like the fact that we have two different mag releases. It shows to be of a robust design. Clearly, X-Shot did not want to reinvent the wheel, so they stuck with the bullpup design, and you can't blame them. It did have this oval plunger tube, which seems to be pretty good. I've seen it in a few other blasters, not necessarily from X-Shot, but a couple of Dart Zone blasters, and it helps blasters be a little bit more slim profile. For something as compact as this, I think it was a good fit. But in an effort to give you a little bit of a broader opinion, I'd like to bring on my friend Josh from Savannah Nerf Network. If you guys are in the Savannah, Georgia area and you're looking for some fun games, some people to hang out with, or even a cool creator to follow, check out his channel, his Instagram as well. Really fun content, great guy. He's about to tell us what he thinks about the Pro Fury X.
Thanks, Not Enough. This is Josh, the Savannah Zombie with the Savannah Nerf Network. I wasn't planning on jumping on the hype train for the Fury X, but yeah, I picked one up. Hadn't planned on opening it yet, but Not Enough hit me up and asked me if I had any thoughts on it, so I unboxed it. And in that box, you get the blaster, a 15-round magazine, the instruction manual, and a whopping 40 darts. Get out of there. That's a lot of darts. All right, because I am the Savannah Zombie, I set up, of course, a zombie target, plinking course, whatever you want to call it. But we've got my 3 targets here: big helmet, big skin bag, and of course, the big boss, Big Todd. You gotta watch out for him. So these are approximately 20, 25, and 35 feet. I say approximately because Barbie was trying to eat the tape measure as I was trying to measure out the distance. As you can see, this is my first bullpup that I have ever used before, so I was getting a little used to firing it, but it's super smooth, super easy to prime, you know, gets the job done, sends the darts where they need to go. I was using a new GoPro setup here, so if my aiming seems a little off, it's because I didn't know what I was doing. And if you did notice, that was a Game Face Katana mag in there. So those actually work in there as well. It's got a wide range of magazines that it accepts, but I did notice that I had issues with my angle talons. I just kept not wanting to latch because of the connection. So my final thoughts for the Fury X are undecided. I just opened it up. I just really haven't gotten much time to play with it. I like it. I like the form factor. It is my first bullpup, so I am kind of getting used to just the different form factor on it. But I really love this dual release on the mag release right there. It's even got a third one on the back. I really like it. The design's great. It looks good. And it's $15, so it's easy to pick up and get into a somewhat higher performance level of playing. I definitely give it a thumbs up, but for me, the jury's still out. I'm kind of comparing it to the Aeon Pro X because it's pretty much similar in the same vein of blasters in that $15 to $20 range. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more testing, comparing the two, but I'm going to give it a big thumbs up. I like it. Back to you, Not Enough.
Damn. I'm slacking on my plinking game. Those targets are cool, my brother. I appreciate the honesty on not giving an opinion so soon. I like the approach of initial impressions and then a 1 year later review with a revisit on how the blaster has been holding up. Maybe more of a long-term comprehensive review down the line. I have considered something like that, so you give me some pretty good ideas, Josh. I appreciate that take. And I guess we could both agree on one thing. The thing is definitely smooth. Finally getting to that one thing I mentioned at the beginning of the video. It's not so much that I feel like X-Shot did a bad thing, at least not for themselves. With X-Shot lowering the price point bar so low, this does stimulate the Pro Blaster economy to a sense. It does compel other manufacturers on the same playing field. Where I feel like it could be a drawback is that in order to meet these price levels, we saw it with Hasbro, a lot of these other manufacturers might start cutting corners in areas that we don't really want them to, like quality, dependability, and such. I really don't want to see that, but having said that, that only speaks volumes about the value proposition that this brings to the table. This blaster is actually way cheaper than other blasters in its price point that are not Pro blasters. And sure, you can make the argument that it's just a pistol or it's just a small carbine, it's not a full rifle size or full size combat blaster, and that's fair, I get that. But when you consider what this brings to the table, you got 150 FPS in what would be a great primary, maybe even a backup primary or secondary, and you could technically take this blaster to a super stock game or any kind of elevated FPS game between 100 and 150 and you probably run it all day. Now, like Josh says, I couldn't agree anymore that I can't speak for the long-term reliability of this blaster, but I can say that what I've seen today sets a new precedent in this market that is a little bit difficult to pass up. I don't even want to imagine what a sale or a clearance on this would look like. And that's kind of like what I was getting to earlier. I don't want the commercial Pro Blaster space to just collapse on itself just because companies keep shooting for the lowest dollar amount. I don't want companies to get carried away focusing on financial targets. I want companies to maintain their quality standards and quality standards at the forefront. I have a feeling X-Shot is able to get away with stuff like this because they inherently work with a lighter material production process. It's no trade secret that X-Shot blasters, for the most part, always feel lighter and maybe even use the word flimsier. It's nothing new. We've come to expect it and we know that it doesn't affect the quality of those blasters. However, I do have to say that for the Pro blasters, they have bumped up the quality feel of them, like I said earlier, to an extent. Take that with a grain of salt and make of that what you will. To summarize everything, you have an unbeatable value in a Bullpup Pro blaster. Bullpups are normally a very exotic style of blaster. X-Shot puts it in your hands for 15 bucks. 15 round mag, easy to load. Got 2 mag releases, very ergonomic, a bunch of cool sci-fi livery on the blaster. Picatinny rail back here for all the optics you could ever wish for. It's compact, it's ready for pro tier gameplay. At this point in time, I can't really come up with any crazy cons. $15. It's similar to the argument about the Siren Gnarl. It's a great little pistol blaster and it shoots really hard, but it doesn't have a rifling accessory, but it's now 17 bucks. Maybe at the $25 price point where it debuted at, it was a little high, especially since the Aeon Pro X got that rollback at Walmart where it's now permanently $19 and comes with a rifling accessory. This one being $5 cheaper than the Aeon Pro X without a rifling accessory, I don't know, it puts them all right there in the playing field. Like Josh mentioned, the jury may still be out on that comparison, but that does not deduct from the fact that this thing is probably the best value right now to get your hands on a Pro Blaster. Full stop. Is this the ultimate pro budget blaster? It's kind of hard to argue with that. Have you guys had a chance to play with the Pro Fury X? Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. If you're not subscribed yet because YouTube thinks it's better than you at searching for things you like and you get recommended every video we post making it look like you're subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. If you like this video and found it informative, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to Josh's page as well, Savannah Nerf Network, especially if you're in his area. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay blasted, foam fam.